And hello, everybody, and welcome to this first stream that we are going to be doing officially from the Selenium Conference 2025, reporting here from Valencia in Spain, España. So, on this first interview, we have our first victim or interviewee of the day. But first, I want to introduce to you our co-host that is gonna help me today to torture, not so much, our victim. Joaquin, welcome.
Hello, good morning. Hello, Titus.
How are you?
Well, very good. Very excited to be here with both of you.
Okay. So, what's the deal with you, Joaquin? Why are you right now at the stream sharing with us?
Well, as people know, okay, in this conference we are working together, Leandro and Q Evolution, and I'm one of the parts of this initiative, and yeah, let's see.
So, Joaquin, welcome and thank you for coming to help me today to torture our guest, victim of honor today, Titus Fortner. Titus, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You look a little bit nervous
Oh,
already after
well,
that.
No, I'm good.
Okay, you're feeling.
I'm just a little. Well, I mean, I taught the Selenium workshop yesterday, so I kind of and the way I do workshops is mostly I talk for 8 hours.
You're used to the attention,
and so like my voice is a little, and then I'm like, yeah. So anyway,
we're gonna do today the radio voice.
Hello.
We are en Radio Selenium, reportando desde España. Okay, so before we begin with all this, again, I want to give thanks to the community, to the Selenium Conference for allowing us to be here. If you want to learn more about Selenium, Appium, and all the front-end automation stuff that is the rage nowadays, you should be here. Or if you couldn't come, we'll try to share as much of the perspective of the professionals that are going to be here with us today. So, to not to waste more time, Titus, for the ones that do not know you, which I would be a bit surprised, would you mind sharing a little bit about you? What's your background? What makes you special?
What makes me special, man? No, so I got into testing kind of accidentally, as some of us do. I was a software developer,
of us, right?
As a software developer, but I was brand new to the job. It's a new career, and the second day on the job, someone's like, "We've got these Selenium tests. Could someone figure out what these are and how to work with them?" And I'm like,
"Sure, I'll be walking.
I'll do it." Yeah, I'm like, okay. I haven't been assigned anything yet. Sure, I'll do it. And then I dove into them, and they were the Selenium IDE tests that were really bad. And I'm looking online. I'm like, oh, we need to change this to RC. And like, oh, WebDriver 2 just came out, and so now I've got to figure out how to do all of this in WebDriver. And then it was just 5 different SDET jobs in short succession before Sauce Labs brought me on board to do customer work as a solutions architect. And I've been there for 8 years now in a combination of customer-facing roles and giving talks and doing workshops and doing training and helping people and looking at their code. And then as part of this whole journey, I got into the open source community and took over the Watir project, which is web application testing in Ruby. It used to be big back when Ruby was big. It makes me a little sad that Ruby has not gotten as much attention recently. But I started doing Selenium development I joined the team 10 years ago as a contributor, taking over the Ruby stuff. And then I've been spending a lot of time the last few years contributing and trying to make the project better and push it forward.
When you were sharing, what drove you to start contributing, to become part of officially, you have your hands on Selenium, so
yeah, no.
What made you?
It was a bug. It was a bug. There was some problem with how Windows were being switched in Watir, and I went in, figured out why it was happening, and it turned out it wasn't a problem with Watir. It was a problem with Selenium, and so then I jump into the Selenium code and I fix it in Selenium code, and then it was like, oh, this is kind of fun, and like, hey, these people seem kind of interesting, and so it was a very welcoming community, the developers, and so it was easy to jump in and start doing work, and it's been very, very rewarding the last few years. So
10 years.
10 years. This May.
What would you say around these 10 years has been the most interesting, challenging, or outstanding situation as a contributor? That
Yeah, so I mean, I was focused just on the Ruby code for a number of years, and after Selenium 4 was released and some of the biggest contributors kind of stepped back and got burned out, and like they achieved Selenium 4, they got their stuff, and then they kind of take a step back. I mean, that's one of the challenges of open source is you come in, it takes a while to learn everything, and then you learn everything, and then you can do a lot of really good work, and then you get tired and burned out, and then you have to take a step back. And so one of my mentors, Brett Petticore, was saying that the best way to do open source is to spend a year learning it, a year doing it and training someone else who can do it, and then a year letting them do it so that they can take over and you can back off for a bit. And so I've gone through some of those cycles, but the last couple of years have been the most interesting because I have started working in all the languages. So I'm implementing features in Ruby and Python and Java and .NET. Not as much JavaScript because that's not as much my language, but the other four you could take very similar approaches, and it's been interesting seeing how different the implementations have ended up in the different languages. It's like, oh, Java's got this and Python doesn't, and Python fixed this bug that Ruby didn't. And so just kind of trying to make things more consistent and push things forward and see, you know, what's good in which places and how can we make more benefit to more people from what we have already in place.
That is a great perspective. You just reminded me a lot of Richard Feynman, that to truly understand and truly, you got to teach it, you got to help other people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you already got that blast.
Well, no, yeah, I got to teach the Selenium deep dive yesterday. So I talked for like 8 hours going through step by step.
What's the title
all
of the tutorial? Selenium deep dive?
It was deep dive, yeah. So I went through all of the detailed, all of the cool classes that no one knows about, that do the wrappers and the extensions, and just talking about how to use Selenium and get the most out of it. So,
what in your tutorial, and spoiler alert, I'm gonna make him just tell us a little bit of what is the secret sauce and content of this the Selenium tutorial, the deep dive. What would you say is the element while you're presenting the tutorial that people are more like mind blown or didn't see it coming or generally do not know, that you consider like, yeah, this is important?
Probably the most interesting trick that a lot of people don't think about when actually using Selenium. So this is so much what's the Selenium code, but you see a lot of people checking elements to see if they're displayed before clicking on them. And I'm just like, just click them. Because if it's not displayed, it'll tell you. And if it is displayed, you don't have to waste an extra click. And the way most people's code is, it ends up in these weird loops where locate is displayed, is enabled, or locate is displayed, locate is displayed, is enabled, locate is displayed, locate, click kind of things. And you end up abstracting that out and gets into weird loops. And I'll see customers that I'm working with, they're like, why are my tests so slow? And you look and you're like, because you're doing 20 actions when you only need 2. And it's just like, just take the actions. If there's a problem, Selenium will let you know. And
just that makes those executions where you are like hours. I've seen organizations waiting hours, even stopping the pipeline because of some of those situations where just straight to the point. And as you were saying, from my perspective, if it's not appearing yet and the script is not finding it, you have a performance issue. Sorry, but
no, but it's also, I mean, and this is one of the things, though, I feel like we do get a little too focused on some of this. So the customers are constantly asking me, how do I make my tests faster? And I've started coming to the realization that that's the wrong question to ask, because your test suite hasn't finished running until you've evaluated all the failures. And most people's test suites never finish because they have more errors than they can look at. And so I think we've been spending a lot of time trying to optimize the wrong thing. And we need to be taking a look at how can we make getting information about the results and how to take action on those results faster, rather than how do we execute things faster. If I can reduce your execution time of your whole test suite from 9 hours to 6 hours, but then you spend 3 days looking at the failures and figuring out if there's any problems, I haven't done anything for you. If we can help figure out these are the reasons why the failures are happening, or these are the root causes, these are the things we can do, that'll make the difference.
What's related to this? What's the relationship between the classic flagginess of some tests and these extra actions that people normally do?
And that's a good point, because the reason people are doing all of these calls is for a good reason. They're trying to make sure that the browser's in the right state for the code to take the action. So it's smart that they're taking these actions, they're doing the work to make them synchronized and prevent race conditions, prevent flakiness. It's just the way they end up doing it is often not ideal. And this is one of the problems that Selenium has had relative to some other frameworks that try to do more automated waits and try to wait for you for some of the things. There's still race conditions. They're just hiding them better to a certain extent. And so like really figuring out, it's really hard. It's really hard to know what things cause race conditions. I joke to people that your first 3 frameworks that you write are probably not going to be great. And then your 4th one though is pretty good. And that's why a lot of people aren't as successful with test automation as I would like, because it is difficult to get something put together in Selenium to the extent. Lots of power in Selenium, lots of different ways to do things, lots of, you can build up exactly what you want. But understanding all the details and the trade-offs and where things should go is not as easy as would be nice. It would be nice if Selenium as a project were able to provide more immediately useful tools for people to just jump in and start doing things.
Yeah, on that sense, when you were mentioning earlier as well, some of the questions from the customers, you got me thinking, how can I make my automations faster so that and many times they are just like looking at avoiding this stop or making this flow easier, or as you were saying, removing that check. How about engineer your system to be testable in a fast way? Because it's not only about the automation. You also have to think about the system, right?
Right, absolutely. And this is, like the trends in the industry. Where are we going? We've seen a bunch of different directions. We're seeing people outsourcing their QA and then unoutsourcing their QA. And now QA is not a separate thing. It needs to be integrated with the development team. And then it's not enough just to be integrated. The developers need to do it. And developers are looking at testing and being like, I don't want to do this. I want to make the next feature. So this is too hard. So figuring out who's responsible for doing which things and the extent to which, and are we overcorrecting and doing too little testing? I think so. I think we're going to see that failures like some of the big things that have come out in the news in the last year, we're going to see more of those because we're not focused enough. We don't have someone in a role at the company who is in charge of quality. When you make all of the devs in charge of their own quality, there's no one at the top looking at what are the integrated risks, what are the doomsday scenarios for our company that's going to drop our market share or our bottom line by a third.
I think you need those different visions inside of the team that will have the different perspective, because as a developer, you have the nearsightedness situation. What's the name? Miss the forest for the trees, where you are so close to some of the problems that you don't see everything else.
But it's also, it's a really good thing that we're holding developers accountable for the code they write. One of my favorite things is like the developers pointing to the testers, be like, "Why did you let this bug get out into production?" And the tester looks back,
classic one.
Like, why did you write the bug in the first place, right? Because it's like they're the ones that didn't do the thing that they needed to do, but the tendency in the past has been that's someone else's responsibility to check my work. So it's nice that you're being told, no, it's important to check your work, to be responsible for it. But there still needs to be, I think we're losing some of the systemic evaluations and some of the making sure that as a whole, things are working as well. So the companies that I see that seem to be doing the best right now are the ones that have the ability still to manage the overall quality while empowering developers to execute tests as well.
Yeah, to own it. I am sure that we are gonna have some comments. There are some developers tuning in on this and like, no, it's not always my fault. Stop blaming me. But I love that when you say backwards testers, don't be angry at developers when they tell you like, hey, you let a bug pass, but you created it. But we are all kind of like fulfilling.
But you're on the same team though, right? Like you should be working together on these things.
It's everybody's baby. The project that we're working on, everybody's responsible. We want our babies to be pretty there. Sometimes not that much, but
the classic thing is, okay, you let this bug pass, okay? You created this bug at the first time, okay? But it's your job to find my bugs. No, it's your job to go this.
So now this is a situation where I come and like, whoa, guys, stop fighting. Let's correct the bug. That's the point. Who blame? Who
It's-
is? No.
It's about the
let's fix
process.
it.
It's about
Yeah.
making sure that you're working together in a way that the developers have written an application that's easy to be tested. The testers help put together a way to evaluate the work that the developers are doing. And this is where it's really important to have faster feedback, because if you're waiting, like, hey, someone touched this code 3 weeks ago and there started a failure, like, oh yeah, I think Jim did something in there that maybe
Who
affected
cares if
things,
it
right?
was Jim?
Like,
Let's fix it.
But no, like, it's like, who did what to cause the problem? The longer you go, you don't even know. And so being able to give fast feedback, making sure that the tests are giving immediate information back to the developer. And that just means having good test suites. If you've got bad test suites, you're not able to give
that
that
information
input back to the developers in a way that they can do something about it right away. And so the feedback loops are, and the process across the board is really important.
You're bringing up something that also drives me crazy, that some of these outputs from the test suites are locked up only if you have credentials, login. I generally do the joke of King Arthur. The
Yeah.
only one who can lift the sword will be able to see the reports and the
Yeah.
results. The whole team should be
Yeah.
having access to all that, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like, it makes a huge difference when your test code is in the same repository as the app code, because you start getting versioning issues and like, oh, we haven't released this one, but the tests need to be different. And so one of the companies I worked at, we had all these different branches with different versions of the build. So we had to go to one of the pages. They would sneak the build information in there. So we would go to that page and parse the build and then pick which branch we were going to check out to then run those tests. And it was just like, this is insane. If it was all in the same repo, we could use the same feature flags. We could use the same toggles. We could make sure that things are up to date. The developers would have an incentive
the same
to,
branch
we
has the
ran
version, right?
this branch, we ran the tests for this code, and we see the problem instead of like, oh, everything failed, but we made a bunch of changes. They'll figure it out later. And it's,
You were speaking before about speed, about how to make the test faster. Now we are speaking more about the reports,
Mhm.
and I would like to speak about how can we make our test more reliable. How can we make sure that we see a report and we see a test fail or a test okay, and we know exactly if a test is failed, why is the root cause?
Right. No, and this gets into like my current take on artificial intelligence in testing, right? Because I see a lot of people focused on test authoring and creating the tests. And that's not the problem that people have. I see all these AI solutions that are solving things that aren't the real problem. Self-healing locators. Not the biggest, like there are 10 different ways you could get test failures when your site is working as you intend. 10 different ways. Locators that could be self-healed is one of them. It's not the biggest problem. It's not the hardest problem to solve. And it actually masks other potential huge problems. And so it's like, why are we talking about this? You shouldn't be doing this. It makes the important things harder in a lot of ways. And it's the same kind of thing with test authoring of like, oh, we're going to automatically create the test. I'm like, even if your AI right now can solve 80% of that, the 20% of the hard part is now harder to do because you've let someone else do the first 80%. And the hard part of all of this is maintaining the test. There's a change. We need to fix something. If you're not the one that created it, it's going to be harder to maintain it. And, oh, then we'll let the AI maintain it. And then it's just like, yes, but what's checking to make sure, like, then your AI is just constantly checking everything? Like, where's truth? And we don't have fidelity yet with AI for it to be able to always determine truth. There needs to be a balance. We're not there yet. And so, like, back to your original question, what AI can do really well right now is to help us focus on results. So if get the log files that you just ran, get the stack trace and the error messages, write your tests in a way that it's giving the error message that you need, compare this across test runs and really see, hey, these are the 3 new tests that just failed, prioritize those. It looks like maybe the login broke, and so these 50 tests failed this run. Make sure you fix that. And then, hey, here's the manual way to reproduce this test you just ran if you want to review it. Getting that information, again, your test suite hasn't finished running until you've evaluated all the failures. How do we see those failures, understand what's important, and process them faster? That's the feedback loop that you need for writing good tests, for what does your test suite look like? How do you get the information you need from, like, we're not running tests just to run tests. We're running tests to get information about the
Depending
system.
on who you ask about.
Well, no. we get very myopic and just like, oh yes, I'm like, your CEO doesn't care what your test suite percent pass rate is. Like he doesn't like, he wants users to have a good experience on the site so that they
Can
come
we
back.
get to production in a good state, and that's it?
Well, and that's the thing. The faster you get fixes and the faster you get new features, the better you're competing against other companies, and that's what they care about. Testing is a way to make that better, or it needs to be. And if we're too focused on pass rates, fail rates, test coverage, we're not actually solving the whole reason for the industry, which is to give feedback and ensure that users are going to have a good experience using the site.
It's not the best incentive to for the test, for the sake of the solution, that the system under test is going to be like in the best state, as you're saying, going faster, better, is more efficient, more desirable. I love it how you put it, because it made me think like we're throwing an advanced tool like AI at something that the foundation is wrongly placed, as you were saying, like focused on quick automations or making it easier and the selectors out and all those things. No, there are some other problems in the foundation that are creating these situations, which we think that just throwing new tech and modern stuff will make things better, easier somehow, or fix the problem. The problem is elsewhere. But I'm going to take this as a segue. Would you mind talking about new things coming with Selenium? Because I know recently there was a new version, that there was a release yesterday.
Well, no,
There were some,
I did
updates.
release Selenium 4.30 last week, and we need to release Selenium 4.31 here soon because the version of Chrome just changed.
Yeah,
we have to update, and this is one of the problems right now is Chrome DevTools protocol changes every single release of Chrome, not necessarily by a lot, but we have to change the code in our code base in Selenium to make sure that the commands that are being sent are the right things for that version of Chrome. And it's a pain. It's a pain to have to constantly change things, and a lot of that protocol is very Chrome specific. It can only be used in one browser, and so that's why we're having to do a lot of releases. We actually met. We had a test summit or developer summit for the Selenium developers Monday and Tuesday. So everyone that is active doing Selenium development as part of the technical leadership committee got together Monday and Tuesday of this week here in Valencia.
I like to think
argue
it
about
as the
things.
Illuminati of Selenium. We're getting together to check.
No, it's a bunch of nerds in a room arguing about stupid things. But
Illuminati.
but no, so like the problem is it's Chrome specific, and we're big proponents of the open web. We're big proponents of standards, the W3C specs, and making sure that everyone can agree on what things need to look like. We want to work together with people. We want Google in the room. We want Mozilla in the room. We want Apple in the room, even if they're not allowed to comment on what they're working on. We want them there to be able to give input because we want everyone to agree on things going forward. And so that's why the big thing we're working on with Selenium right now to push forward to the next release is to implement a cross-browser implementation of the protocol that Chrome DevTools is using. We're calling it WebDriver BiDi. So we're looking to move from a WebDriver Classic implementation, which is a synchronous server communication. I send a request, I get a response. I send a request, I get a response, to something where I say, here, let me split off an execution, and now every time this event happens, execute this. And that's a separate process from the test that I'm running and now I need to locate the element, now I need to click the element. But hey, if a click happens and this event occurs, I've got this other process that's doing something about it. And so
like a streamed process rather than event.
Well, it's one of those things where it just opens up a lot of potential for things. And this is the power that people are seeing from, tools like Cypress and Playwright have some of these abilities to do asynchronous things. And Selenium's looked at that and we like that idea. There's good stuff there. We just want to do it in a way that you can get other browsers. Well, I mean, because right now, like the other tools that are out there, you're not testing Firefox or Safari. You're testing the open source version with some stuff pulled out and some stuff pushed in so that the Chrome DevTools protocol works with a browser that doesn't actually support Chrome DevTools. And for some people, that's fine. Right? For some people, that's fine. And for others, don't say that you're testing Safari because you're not. There's a difference between you could have problems in Safari and not find them by testing the open source WebKit with Chrome DevTools attached to it.
And there's a big risk that many people are not thinking, being so attached to Chrome DevTools.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on political stuff. Imagine the U.S. government is proposing splitting Chrome from Google.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Imagine if there's a problem. Just picture Chrome disappears. Oh my God! Right? If you are so dependent on that type of situations, on having the Chrome DevTools available, and it's just whoop, out. Oh damn! Oh, now what's going on with Selenium? So I think this also
There's
kind of
there's making sure that things work in a way for multiple browsers is just really important. So it's working towards a spec, having things that people agree on, being able to the quote that we have is if you need to go fast, do it yourself. If you want to go far, do it with other people. And that's kind of our ethos is let's support the open web, let's work on standards, let's try and push things forward as a group rather than trying to sprint ahead with our own idea of what things need to be and force that on everyone else.
That's I love the perspective, trying to make things in the best way. And well, we are already going to the getting into the ramp down of this.
Don't be
Joaquin, do you
afraid.
have one?
Don't be afraid, Titus.
Is there something special going on now?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's beware. But before
I'm
before
just
we get
warning you.
into the funny or interesting part, don't be afraid. Be very afraid. No. First, Titus, where can people follow up with you, get in touch, find out more about what your whereabouts? What are you doing?
Great question. So, I mean, I have a website that I wish I were posting more interesting articles to at titusfortner.com. I don't spend as much time on X or
Whatever
LinkedIn or those as I used to. Right now, probably the easiest way is to go to the Selenium Slack, because I hang out there with the other Selenium developers. Most of us spend time on there answering questions from users or talking about what we're doing next. If you have any interest in working on the Selenium project,
Is it open
helping with
for
documentation, yes, it's on our website. If you go to selenium.dev, you click on support. There's a link in that wall of text to join the chat room, and you get an automatic email to join Slack, and you go into the Selenium channel and you talk to other people and
log in and get the opportunity to talk to this awesome guy.
It's well, and everyone else on the project who's pretty awesome. So we've got a lot of really smart people that I get to interact with there and come up with what we need to do next and try and push things forward, because it's really hard for an open project that doesn't have a large corporate sponsor directing everything. It's hard to get consensus and push things forward sometimes, and then to take action fast enough. It's all volunteer. You can't hold a volunteer accountable for, you said you would do this, but the more you're engaged in conversing and interacting with each other, the easier it is to prioritize the next thing. And so the more conversation we have, the more questions, I get other people to write code by saying, this doesn't seem to work. And then someone comes in and just like, oh yeah, I'll fix that, but
that's a great benefit of the community, right?
It really is. And it's fun. It's fun. Fixing bugs is fun. Figuring out features is fun.
Don't miss out the opportunity. Log on the Slack for Selenium. Get a chance to talk, put your questions. If you can, give some support, collaborate. Mm-hmm. And while I get ready the closing thing for this stream, any future plans for you? Are you going to be in more conferences? Where should we run and try to catch up with you?
I don't have any specific plans for conferences right now. It would be if anyone wants any Selenium workshops. I've been really enjoying teaching Selenium courses and things like that. So I'm hoping to get to do more of that at conferences going forward, but I haven't made any specific plan. I'm horrible at proposing talks and things. I love talking. I love giving opinions, but actually figuring out 6 months ahead of time what I'm going to want to say in November to a group of, I'm like, I don't even know. I'm going to be bored with what I'm talking about now in 6 months, and I'm going to have a new thing that I'm going to think of the night before that I'm like, I want to talk about this to people. So
I need to get some tips from you, because I've been guilty of that. Now, for the event of this moment, I'm from Mexico, and some people are amazed, some others scandalized that children eat spicy candies in Mexico. So I brought a few of them.
Oh no!
And I will give you.
I've had spicy candies from Mexico before, but it was a long time ago.
So I have a choice.
Oh boy.
This is more sugary. And this
Okay.
is tamarind, which is tiny bit
Mhm.
spicier. I'll let you choose
Which
one.
you're saying this is spicier?
This is the least. And
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
a
Okay,
little
we're
bit more.
going. I'm a slight.
If you ask me, none of them are.
I live in. I spent 20 years in Texas, but I still am kind of a spice wuss. So, all right.
So I'll hold the mic for you so you can open it.
Okay.
We want a close
I
up
have
of
to actually eat
Titus'
this right
face.
in front of-
Yeah. I want to see how
we
do you
have the
react.
ambulance out there, so don't worry.
It's not gonna be as bad.
See, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be worried about this, and now I'm like, okay, now I'm worried.
Okay,
All right.
so get ready, people, to see Titus's response to Mexican candy.
Oh wow, yeah, super spicy.
You can just put it in and slurp it. It's just sugary. Okay, he's enjoying.
Tell the
it.
truth.
He's already regretting.
Yeah, I don't know why I accepted this interview now. So
Okay, that's not the spicy one. What do you think?
It's not so bad now. It's gonna get worse. I know. So
Yeah, yesterday we had a situation when one of the interviews was saying like, yeah, the beginning is sweet, it's okay. Like, oh, it's kicking.
yeah.
It is?
Oh, yeah, a little bit. Yeah. There we go.
Okay, but you seem to have survived. He's not crying that much.
Not yet.
So,
Off camera. I'll cry off camera. I'm gonna go in the corner right over there here in a minute.
okay. Well, our friend survived. He's already coughing. Oh my God, I hope I didn't kill one of the speakers.
Real good. There's water right there. I see it.
Okay, so while Titus goes and gets some water from this little experiment, Titus, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think.
He's super happy. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned because we're going to have another interview later today. Joaquin, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Titus, thank you. And we'll see you soon later. Now, time to click end stream in the corner. And yeah, let's kill it. And we usually have to dance a little bit while it ends. Have a good